Hey, good morning, everyone. Howard Jacobson here from WellStart Health. I help people go from sick to fit, go from overweight and unhealthy to lean, right-sized, and healthy and fit. And today I want to talk about exercise when you're starting out. Now, I use the word exercise because everybody uses the word exercise. I'm not crazy about the word exercise. To me, it sounds like work, which, we also have the word workout. And so I prefer, when people think of exercise, they think of, okay, I'm going to go do a thing. I'm going to go to the gym and do a spin class, or I'm going to go walk on the treadmill, or I'm going to do yoga or Pilates, lift weights. And exercise is this sort of limited thing that's separate from the rest of our lives that we go do. So at WellStart, we prefer the term movement. And we capitalize it because we have our three pillars of big change, which is menu, the food we eat, movement, the way we literally move our bodies through space, and mindset, which is the approach that we bring along with other things like stress management. So the thing about exercise, which I'll use that term to frame the debate, is a lot of people will say when you're starting to go on a weight loss journey, don't exercise. Now this is better. This is better than standard wisdom, which is the way to lose weight is to eat less and exercise more, right? Or take in fewer calories and burn more calories. And, it's absolutely true that ultimately it's calories in, calories out, but that misses a lot of nuance. So that if you have someone who is overweight and you tell them eat less, move more, and you don't talk about the quality of the food they're eating, and they're simply just taking in fewer calories but still eating crappy, and now move more, so now they have less energy than they're used to because they're not taking in as many calories, and they're probably jonesing to eat. And now you're telling them to go exercise. It can become overwhelming, and it can kind of like burn out a fuse, and people give up. And we see that all the time. But so there's a next level statement, which is, you know what? Food is really the important thing, and so let's not worry about exercise at all. There's estimates that what you eat is maybe 80% of weight loss, and the movement is maybe 20%. So that sounds like a real good 80-20, and of course in an 80-20 situation, we mostly want to focus on the 80, on the thing that's going to give us the biggest result. So because of that, we don't want to spend our time, exercise takes a lot of time, and especially if you're trying to eat better, if you're trying to go plant-based, whole food, you might have to change a few habits. You might have to shop differently, prepare food differently, think about where you're going to eat out, spend more time on that. And it can become, a little bit of a side hustle for you, a part-time job. And so to add another one, now spending hours every week at the gym or walking or doing whatever can feel like too much. So let's just focus on the eating, the theory goes, and not worry about the exercise at all. There's even one well-known weight loss coach who says that because losing weight is a very involved, tiring thing, we're not going to do any exercise at all in her program. We're just going to put on our bunny slippers. And of course, that's very appealing to people, right? Because it sounds great. And the truth is, you can lose weight just by focusing on food. And for people who are, disabled in a wheelchair, injured and can't move, that's really good news. That we don't have to exercise to lose weight. And I remember hearing this, maybe 15 years ago from Joel Fuhrman, who used kind of the example of a car. Like the purpose of a car is to move you around, and so you fuel your car so that you can move yourself around. You don't do it the other way around, right? So that was the basis of his first book, Eat to Live. You don't fuel, you fuel to drive. You don't live to eat. You don't drive so that you can fuel up again. And so if you're not exerting yourself, then you just need less food. And so you can still balance calories in and calories out because you're burning calories every day through your basal metabolic rate. So at WellStart, we encourage people to move and to move from day one. And so given these three things, that exercise is 20% of weight loss, if that much, that weight loss is tiring, and so we just put on our bunny slippers, and that we don't want to be fighting too many battles at once, why would I be telling people to do that? Why would I be telling people to move their bodies, to exercise at the very beginning? And there are three main reasons. The first one, if you've read Sick to Fit, or if you've listened to any of the podcasts I've done with Josh Lajani, or paid attention to any of the WellStart Health material, and by the way, if you're interested in finding out more about our program to help people lose weight and get healthy, you can check that out at wellstarthealth.com. We start new cohorts on a monthly basis. Anyway, where was I? So yeah, the concept of NAQ, N-A-Q, naturally attainable quantities. So that's how we think about food. What could a human being in their ancestral environment collect, gather, hunt in a given day or week? That's what we should be eating. Now notice that it's not what could the average human in our ancestral environment order from Grubhub or Uber Eats or get delivered from some grocery store app, or even what a human could gather if they drove themselves to the store and pushed a cart around and collected all the food that somebody else had grown and processed and shipped to them. We're talking, if you want to eat, you go do stuff. You walk and you forage. You climb trees and you gather fruit. You till the soil. You go on a hunt, an on-foot persistence hunt. And so if we are eating calories that we didn't earn, which is all of us, really, like who is out there gathering all their own food by themselves or in a tribe without technology? And by technology, I mean without things that require fossil fuels to run. Right? So if you made your own bow and arrow from the sinew of a deer and a yew branch, and the feathers of a mallard or something, you didn't necessarily use fossil fuels, gas, oil, engines, motors, to factories to make that stuff. But none of us do that. We all rely on somebody else's labor and on fertilized food, where we rely on food that's been driven to us by vehicles by fossil fuels. And so all of us are in a deficit in terms of naturally attainable quantities. We are all taking in more calories than we are expending physically to get those calories. And so we have to make up that deficit. And so the rule of thumb is you want to move as if you had to collect those calories. So depending on what you're eating, if you're eating steak and it's a meat, then you've got to be as active as a hunter. If you're living on produce, on vegetables, then you need to be walking and moving, jogging like a gatherer. And the more calorically dense the food you're having and the more processing it would have taken to take the sugar cane and turn it into sugar, to take the whole grain wheat and turn it into flour using your muscles, then that's the amount of energy you need to be expending. It's a really good balance because it's based not on theory, not on some algorithm, but it's based on the history of evolution on this planet. So that's reason number one, that if eating and movement have to be in balance for human beings really to be sane. This is an issue of sanity. That a human being who's not eating properly and who's not moving properly is out of alignment with their own body, with the imperatives and needs of their body, and you can't be natural that way. We can't be authentic human beings if we are divorcing ourselves from our core biological realities. So that's number one. Number two is, I was thinking about this yesterday. I've mentioned that I have plantar fasciitis that I'm working on getting rid of. And so I got this Pro Stretch. Mia brought it yesterday. I showed it to everybody. It's like a blue thing, little rocky thing made of plastic. And what I'm supposed to do is put my foot on it and then kind of lean on it, and then it stretches. Which way is this? Plantar flexes, dorsal, I forget. It flexes the ankle and so causes a stretch to the calf. Now, I tend to do it barefoot, which is not the way you're supposed to do it. It's got all these sharp ridges on the bottom, but I almost never wear shoes. I don't like, buying socks. I don't understand why. Whenever you buy socks, like you buy a 6-pack from Costco or somewhere, and all the socks are slightly different. They're all like different colors, different patterns, and so can't just sell me the same thing so I don't have to worry about like matching them. So I don't wear socks most of the time. I don't wear shoes, and so it's just there, and so I don't want to go put on socks and shoes. So I just put my foot on it, put my full weight on it, and it hurts like hell. And then I go into the stretch, and in addition to the pain of my foot against these sharp plastic ridges, I also have the discomfort of the stretch. And my trainer, Carly Assay, from down in Florida, he was on the podcast, 4 or 5 years ago now, told me to do 45-second stretches. So I have my little timer, and I'm doing the 45 seconds. And it hurts. 10 seconds hurts, 15 seconds hurts, 20 seconds hurts. But you know what? I make it through every single time. And I'm going like, I can tough this out. I am willing to suffer discomfort, a little bit of pain for the benefit I know I'm going to get. But you know what? I also know it's going to end, and it's going to end relatively quickly. It's going to end in 45 seconds. And that's how I think about movement, about exercise. That no matter what it is that I'm doing, let's say I'm doing my walk. Every day I walk for 2 miles. And now I'm going to add a little bit of extra oomph to that. I'm going to start jogging for 5 seconds every minute. At a minute, I'll jog for 5 seconds. Then I'll get my heart rate up a little bit, and then I'll come back down and then do it again, and then do it again. So I'm adding little bits of discomfort, but knowing it's only 5 seconds means I can handle it. I'm practicing approaching and embracing discomfort in a limited fashion. And it turns out that that approach, Dan Ariely calls it benign masochism, when we're purposely trying to be uncomfortable to achieve a greater goal. That is the key to making better food decisions. But it's much harder to do around food than around movement. So if I'm saying, all right, I'm going to jog for 20 seconds and it's going to be uncomfortable, I'm training myself to embrace discomfort. It's much easier to do that than to say, okay, I'm not going to have that Snickers bar ever again, because there's no end to ever again. So it's a transferable skill to move, what we call in Well Start Health, we call it vitamin P for pain, which is not a good word because it's really vitamin D for discomfort, but vitamin D was taken, even though it's not really a vitamin, it's a hormone produced by the body in the presence of sunlight, but don't get me on that tangent. Vitamin P, the willingness to be uncomfortable in pursuit of a goal, is precisely the skill that helps us say no to cravings, resist temptation, and avoid binges. So if you're not moving, you're missing out on a huge tool that's going to help you be steadfast in adhering to your new dietary protocol. So that's 2 reasons. The third one is if you are dieting or if you are trying to get healthy through food, your definition of yourself is basically, I'm a dieter. I'm a certain type of eater. Now, I know people who are dieters. They've been dieting for 30, 40 years. They're always on a diet, and that's become their identity. That's become their own personal identity, and it's become the identity of the people around them. Oh yeah, she's always on a diet. He's always trying some new fad. We don't want to be dieters. Is that like, did anyone ever fill out a personality test in school? One of those things your guidance counselor gives you on career choices and preferences, and you say, well, I'd like to be a dieter. I'd like to spend my life watching what I eat. People don't do that. Instead, what we do when we make movement, the focus is that now, like Dr. Furman, we're not living to eat or living to not eat. Now we're eating to live. We're eating to support our new identity as an athlete. Our true identity. Humans are amazing athletes. The human body is an athletic marvel. Especially if you think about what we are better at than any other creature on earth, persistence running. Right? We don't jump like kangaroos. We don't fly. We don't swim as well as dolphins. We don't sprint like jaguars. We don't climb like squirrels. We don't slither like snakes. But man, persistence running, meaning the ability to keep up with like a 10-minute per mile pace for hours and hours and hours, for days. That's our thing. That's our jam. And so when we embrace that as like, this is our thing, this is what we're good at, now all of a sudden, instead of being a dieter, we are pursuing, and I don't care how good you are, I don't care if you're still walking a mile in 35 minutes, you're on your way. You're on the trajectory that identifies you as an athlete. And so at that point, now you get to fuel your athletic body. So all of a sudden the identity switches. It's no longer, okay, I'm a dieter, I'm this kind of eater, I adhere to this plan. No, I'm a runner, damn it. I'm an ultra runner, even if it's just a walk around the block to start. We then can find it in ourselves to follow our dietary protocols, not for its own sake and not just to avoid things. We're not just trying to get away from disease. We're not just trying to not have things. We're not trying to run away from negatives. We are pursuing a positive. And here's the thing. When you run away from a negative, when you're running away from something bad, the farther you get from the bad thing, so the better you're doing, the more you're going to slow down. Because why keep running? Someone's chasing you and you get away. When you're sure you've gotten away, you go, all right, I'm going to stop running now. Whew, much better. But if you're chasing something you want, the closer you get to it, the harder you work. Go to a marathon. Go stand about 0.2 of a mile from the end of a marathon, from the finish line, and watch what happens when people who are running 26.2 miles pass the 26-mile mark, and now they know they have less than 1/4 of a mile to go. You will see them speed up. You will see people who've been dragging all of a sudden get a new burst of energy. You'll see people whose legs were so tight that they could barely lift them off the ground as they trudged, start pumping to get across the finish line. Being close to success motivates us. Being far from failure demotivates us. So instead of being a dieter, instead of being a loser of weight, instead of being a reverser of type 2 diabetes, become an athlete. Because when you become an athlete, you get all of those other results, and you get a much more powerful engine that speeds up the better you do, the closer you get. So you don't get into that, oh, well, I was doing great, and then I fell off the wagon. Oh, and I was really strong for a few months, and then I slipped back. If you are oscillating, if your life has been, I've been doing it, and then I lost 50 pounds, and then I gained it back. And I lost 70 pounds, and then I gained it back. And I went plant-based, and then I stopped. It's because you're chasing the wrong thing. You're being chased by something instead of you taking the offense, going on the offense, and chasing something that's worthwhile to you. All right, so I hope this helps. Again, if you want to find out more, if you want me and Josh on your team, along with lots of other coaches, dietitians, health behavior experts, check out wellstarthealth.com. If you have any questions, I can post them. I'm using a different software here, so I'm not able to see questions and comments live. I have to figure out how to do that. But if you post them, I'll come in and answer them in comments, or I'll do another video tomorrow. and answer your questions. So if this has been helpful, I would appreciate if you'd let me know to maybe just put, yes, it was helpful in the comments, or any questions. If there's things you'd like me to talk about in the future, that would be awesome. And I'll see you all next time. Until then, be well.